welcome to
Dave.
Night Out with
Dave.
Mackie. Oh. Coming to you from Australia, the land down under. That's right, for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. This is listener-funded radio, so if you can, please do donate. Any kind of currency is great. Gold and silver, diamonds! And I'm hearing the slave trade is coming back, but we'll keep that under the hat. Hey! But yeah, if you can donate, great. That would be awesome. If you can't donate, well, you know, that's okay too. Tell people about the station, about the hosts, about the content, about us. Shiny Side Out and Plato's Cave. If you see us out in the wild, like, subscribe, comment. Comments are great. I love comments. Great comments this week, so please keep it coming. But, if you tell people about the station, there'll be more listeners. More content spread to people that might need it, and we do appreciate your support in this fashion. You should be aware that you can listen to the station on any number of platforms and apps and so forth, including at home on a Grace Tabletop Digital Radio. And another item of good news, before we get into the show, is that the archives are completely free. Completely free. Unfortunately, this is not a good news show today. But before we get to that, we would like to acknowledge the custodians of the land we broadcast from, the traditional custodians. And for Dave, that's the
land of the Darkinjung.
Very good. For myself, of course, it's the land of the Daruk people, and we would like to acknowledge the custodians of the land, elders past, present, future. Thank you very much. Now, I hinted that this might not be a good news show. What? Why did you do that? I never heard you hint at anything. Yeah. Okay. There's so much. We won't be able to talk about all the things that have happened. It's just not going to happen, right? But just in a quick recap. What's the state of the world? I'll tell you what the state of the world is. And Dave, jump in anytime, please.
Yeah, it's UTS. Up to shite.
Yeah, that's about right. It's good. It's like boggy, slightly runny, baby poo, and then real shite. That's where we are.
Yeah,
it's tickling our nostrils. Is what it is. What?
Yeah, that's gonna make the reels. That is.
That's gonna make all the reels. Now, I don't even know what the big. So look, let's look at the freedom of speech thing, because in America.
Oh, okay. I've got something for that.
Yeah. The First Amendment, right? The First Amendment is big. Freedom of speech. And freedom of speech means, and please, everybody's been saying this week, and they're all right, it means that anybody can say pretty much anything they want, even if you don't like it. Okay? That's America. The rest of the world is a different, area, but in America, you have the right to say whatever it is that you want to say, even if other people don't like it, as long as you don't call for direct violence, right? As long as you don't do that, or have a specific, or you're specifically targeting someone with violent or criminal intentions. Okay, these are the laws that you have to obey. Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air. It's not the first time this happened. Bill Maher was taken off the air 20 years ago, funnily enough, and Jimmy Kimmel replaced him on ABC for something else. But this is now all pervasive. And the critical thing, and then I'll throw it to you, Dave. The critical thing is this. It's not about the direct censorship or the direct interference of the FCC into this, saying, what he said was, they might not have used these words, but it was unconscionable. We shouldn't have said it. And the ABC should do something about it. So they did, mainly because they want to do a merger, and they need the FCC's approval for that. So Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air. That direct interference is not the problem. Of course, it's a huge problem. Yes, it is. But the bigger problem is the self-censorship that this will now bring. Okay, now a lot of the comedians made fun of it. None funnier than Jon Stewart, who broadcast a Dear Leader broadcast from the studio, which was hilarious. If you haven't seen it, it really is worth watching just for the comedic value. But the problem is that people will now think twice about saying something or breaking a story or investigating a story if they are not as big as Jimmy Kimmel or Jon Stewart or Bill Maher or Stephen Colbert. Like, I mean, these guys are already millionaires. They already have a massive profile. They'd probably get a job pretty easily, or even if they went out on their own with a podcast, people would follow them simply because they have such a big profile. If you're a small podcaster or a small journalist with a small name or no name yet, chances are that you may think twice before investigating, breaking, commenting, or even mentioning a story that is not to the liking of the prevailing political powers. Dave.
Yeah, so look, we know this because we've been demonetized and stuff has been removed and deleted because people didn't like it, right? We're getting like 50,000 views across the platforms at least a month. And I remember the heyday of the station where we could see numbers of like upwards of 1.5 million were tuning into the station, which is great. Look, still good, could be better. So help us along. The ABC ran a story, Mickey, and I've had it on the screen for the duration of this discussion, and it says the on-screen pause of Kimmel, who suggested that conservative pundit of Kirk's alleged killer may have been a MAGA Republican. That was the quote that they used in the ABC Australian news story. It's on screen. I'm not making the claim. I'm doing nothing of the sort. And then Trump says,
and so it begins,
right? And Trump says, according to the ABC News story, Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible, Mr. Trump wrote on Truth Social. This is what was published by the ABC. You're right, Mickey. Let's bring it back to what this story is all about, and it is about free speech. If there's a way to end free speech, it's taking everyone off air that disagrees with you. Hang on a minute. From the top, mind you, not from the people playing at the bottom. This is from the top, and that's the most disturbing because that's an autocracy. When you don't like what people are saying about you. Remember in Australia, Becky, we have a prime minister, equivalent of presidency kind of thing, right? Top person, who employed like this internet czar to try and fix the internet. What's wrong with the internet? Is it broken? No. People are saying things. There's memes about me I don't like. Can we have them removed from the internet, please? And she's like, sure. Yeah, sure. Like you do anyone when you're on a C level and the CEO says to you, can you do it? You go, yeah, not a problem. And you never do it. And they move on. They forgot they even asked you to do it. Because no one tracks, there's no minutes, no one tracks anything. Mickey knows, he's smiling. He knows exactly what this means. Right? Because the CEO is usually, I can't say this usually. In my experience, sometimes the CEO is so flighty, they don't remember they said it in the first place. So, can you delete everything about you on the internet? Sure. It takes a lot of effort. Why? If you get to the position of the head of a country or the head of a corporation or someone who's just, let's call them tall poppies. Why do you think you can stop people talking about you negatively? You might be a tremendous target for negative comments because you're an idiot. You could be a complete pork chop. You could say all the wrong things and do all the wrong things. You could wear the wrong things. You could make terrible music. You could write terrible books. You could make terrible films. You might not even be a good actor or even a nice actor to work with. You could be awful in every regard or any of them. And if you think that you can change the world's narrative of you, you've got something else coming. I think, Mekki, when you get to the point when you're the president, you should be able to take everything on the chin. Doesn't matter. What's it matter? Look where you are. Should it even matter? I think that if you were Donald Trump and you had that role in the world, you should easily be able to distinguish what's right and wrong, what's right from wrong, how does it affect you, and move along. I don't think... I used to like Jimmy Kimmel. I think, wasn't he on The Man Show or something like that? I think initially, him and some
possibly.
other guy.
Yeah.
I liked that show.
Yeah.
I didn't like this night show that he had, the late night shows. They're really funny when it's written by kind of maybe left-wing comedians. It's actually pretty funny. Because if you're a right-wing comedian, you're not allowed to say a word on any media. Remember that Milo chap? He's now, I think he's now an ordained priest or something. I don't know what it is. But
he's a gardener. Yeah, no, he is.
I think he's now in some religion, right? And he's denounced everything that he used to be. But when you think about what he was saying, he made the left so aggravated they couldn't deal with him, even his existence. They hated him for everything he said. But if you have a left-wing comic, you can say anything about anyone and everyone just go, that's pretty funny. I think it's really tough, and I don't know how it would be today if you're a comedian, having to deal with all of the crazy that's going on in the world right now, and it's worse than you think. We've got some stories coming up, Mekki. If there was a random hat to choose a news story out of, we've got a phone system in Australia, a phone provider that for 13 hours didn't tell anyone that it was down for 000 calls. And there's now, I think...
No, sorry, these are the 911...
Yeah, the
these are the 911 calls. Yeah. So this is the kind of line that you want answered no matter what.
Yeah. You don't even need a provider. You don't need a cell phone with a provider in it. But those calls weren't going through. This is what's in the hat, right? We've got the Republican warns Anthony Albanese to pull his head in. We have UK fighter jets now going over Poland as part of the NATO thing to protect Poland from the drones and fighter jets. We've got, what about Trump's? This is the great thing, Mekki. I know you might want to roll with this straight away. So Trump has imposed a $100,000 fee for their the people coming into the country. And he's also introduced a Trump gold card.
Yeah.
Which I can share a link if you don't know what that is.
Yeah, the gold card has been around. The idea of the gold card has been around for a while, where you pay a certain amount of money, you get a green card. I don't know how much money. It's $1 million or whatever.
Yeah. So I've got it on the screen, and it's a Trump gold card, and it says for processing fee and after DHS vetting, $1 million contribution received US residency in record time with the Trump gold card. But then there's a platinum card. It doesn't end there.
Gone.
It doesn't. No. If instead of $1 million, if you could pay $5 million, sign up now and secure your place in the waiting list for the Trump Platinum card for processing fee and after DHS vetting, a $5 million contribution you will have the ability to spend up to 270 days in the United States without being subject to US taxes and non-US income.
I wonder who's going to take advantage of that. I wonder who's going to take advantage of those offers, my friend. Only the best people, I'm sure. Only the best human beings that we have on offer in the world.
Well, they won't be the billionaires.
I'll take your meek and you huddled masses. No, that's not that anymore. That's not Trump's America. No. So the gold card, yeah, that's an interesting concept. To be honest with you, Australia had something similar. This is how we got to Australia. My family and I, we came with the business migration program. You had to bring a certain amount of money and migrate your business to Australia, including whatever goods or services you were selling or wanting to do. And that's how I actually got to Australia. The sum of money was not insignificant, but my dad's business, that is, of course. But it's not a new idea, so I'm not really faulting him for that. I am worried about the platinum card now that I know about it, and what kind of people that might attract, especially being able to live in the States essentially as 270 days. That just means you're an American citizen that takes a fairly, a very long vacation overseas every once in a while.
That's right.
But if you don't have to pay taxes, that's pretty sweet deal. No, that doesn't. These things, don't worry. They're in line with what Trump is all about. They're in line with that. Now, the interesting thing is this, though: the censorship of free speech, because we have to call it that, there's no other word for it, has attracted negative commentary from the obvious quarters, being the other comedians, such as Colbert and Fallon and etc. But as well as, interestingly, some people in the Republican world. Senator Cruz, Ted Cruz, chief among them. Because look, this is the thing. All things being equal, let's say I'm wrong and there is another election, and let's say the Democrats come into power, or some other political party that might have been formed in the meantime, and they're looking at what Donald Trump has done, right? And then all of a sudden the shoe is on the other foot. And rather than being protected by the censorship and the free speech laws, etc., the Republicans and the MAGA Republicans specifically now see themselves exposed to the very same treatment that they dished out to anyone they didn't like, or, well, I should be more specific, anyone Trump didn't like. And what we're getting to here, and it's a quote that he made the other day, which I find the most worrying. He said all these media outlets to take a great news story because he was responding to the fact that he gets 90% negative commentary from the media, right? Thereabouts. And he says, well, how's that possible? We've got all these great stories, but the media, spins them all into negatives. Now, we are now having a fundamental issue with objective truth. What is objectively happening in the world, right? Yes, more than one thing can be true at the same time. That is certainly true. Now, are the tariffs good for Americans? Some Americans, yes. Are the tax cuts good for Americans? Some Americans, yes. Okay. Is the immigration policy favorable for Americans? Some Americans, yes. And what I find interesting, this is really a big problem. If you get news that you don't like, we have, and this is not new, by the way, if kings or queens or emperors of the past, in fact, it is so common that there was a phrase coined: don't shoot the messenger, right? If someone in power gets news information they don't like, they should not, I guess, show their displeasure or anger or take it out on the person that brings them the news, right? Because that's pointless. And this is what happened with the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And now that they have a person sitting there that's theirs, the news is still not good. So it's really funny when you look at, oh, no, this is all because of that. And there's a million excuses why the numbers are bad. But they can't say it's the person anymore. Yeah. It's not because the person tried to, because if there's a new person there, so even though the numbers are bad, it clearly hasn't anything to do with the person. Not that it ever had anything to do with the person in the first place. But the thing is, you have to change your thing. And another thing, when you lie or when you invent your own truth, you have to remember it. You have to remember it, you see? And this is the critical thing, because you can't remember everything, especially when you've got a faulty memory anyway. It's much easier to tell the truth because you don't remember anything. It's just what it is, right? You tell the truth. That's what happened. Easy. But see, if you tell a lie, you have to remember the truth because you'll know that's the truth. And on top of that, you have to remember the lie because the truth is there and you know it. It's in your head. But there's another thing, another piece of information that sits on top of it, which is the lie that you told. And on it goes. No, but I just want to say a couple of things here which are in line with Donald Trump. So Donald Trump's presence in the White House right now, right, has led to Putin sending drones into Poland. It has led to the incursion of Russian fighter jets into Estonian airspace, right? And these are all probing maneuvers. Putin is probing NATO. He wants to know what they're going to do, right? He wants to know. So all the Baltic states, yeah, of which Estonia is one, as well as, except with the exception of Poland, but also all the states in and around, I guess, the Russian south and east and even west, were part of the USSR, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. The Greater Russian Empire, if you will. And he wants to bring it all back. Now, Poland and Hungary and Czechoslovakia, they formed part of the Iron Curtain, the Warsaw Pact. So a big chunk of Europe was under Russian influence, under Soviet influence, and he wants that back. And those people don't want it to happen again. They're going to fight. So, but we're seeing the first probing feelers he's sending out to see what will they do? What will they actually do? Never mind how the war in the Ukraine is going, and he is gaining land. But we said before, it would take 20 years at the current rate of advance for the Russian army to take all of the Ukraine. 20 years and millions of people dead. That's by the by. On top of that, Dave, in Gaza, there is this. Do you remember how Donald Trump said, "Hey, this is a great real estate development opportunity"?
That's right.
So Bezalel Smotrich, an ultra-nationalist who is already under sanctions by the UK and others, said that Gaza is a real estate bonanza waiting to happen. So they've taken this up and they're running with it, right? On top of that, Of course, yeah. On top of that, the West Bank is seeing more and more incursions by the settler movement, and an annexation is imminent, in my opinion, of the West Bank, not Gaza, the West Bank. Also, the US has just blocked for the sixth time, a UN call for a Gaza ceasefire. Why? Why, you ask? Because apparently the resolution, the written text of the call for the ceasefire, does not go far enough in condemning Hamas. So my advice to the Security Council here is condemn Hamas in every way, form, or shape, and ask for a ceasefire. Okay? Now, all of these things are only possible because Donald Trump is sitting on his hands. He has done absolutely nothing to help the Palestinians in Gaza or anti-Israeli Palestinian conflict. Zero. Nothing. He has done nothing at all. Go.
I've got a news story about this.
Go.
Yeah, and it's the Republicans warn Anthony Albanese of punitive measures over Palestinian recognition. But it doesn't end on that statement. In short, the US Republicans have told Australia, France, Canada, and the UK that recognising a Palestinian state would put them at odds with US interests. Now, that's the biggest, kind of Foreign Office statement that you could make. And it says, in the letter, Republicans warned Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and his allies of punitive measures if they move ahead with the plans at the upcoming UN General Assembly.
Correct. Now, interestingly enough, Keir Starmer, we all know him, he has said, or he is set to announce the recognition of the Palestinian state today. Being Sunday.
I've got that story on screen right now.
Oh, perfect. And France and Canada, including as well as some other countries, as Dave has said, might follow suit at next week's UN General Assembly in New York. That's right. There was a warning to Mr. Albanese, which I find astounding. Again, please open your eyes. The United States are now doing Israel's bidding. They're doing Russia's bidding. Nothing has happened to Russia in the wake of one deadline passing after the other. Nothing. The war is, in fact, Putin has doubled down and is increasing the ferocity of his drone and rocket attacks. He's not letting up on his, sending more people on the front and fighting hard there as well. So he has done exactly zero to accommodate Donald Trump's, publicized wish for peace. Now, I don't think Donald Trump gives a hoot either way. He'd like a Nobel Peace Prize, but he doesn't have to get it for the Ukraine conflict. He can get it for the 7 other wars he stopped between Albania and
a supermarket chain.
And the funny thing is this: he completely mispronounced both names in the war that he was actually talking about in Central Asia, which was, I think, Armenia and Azerbaijan that were at odds. But it was Albania and Bibiajan or something. It sounded like a Tin country. That's what it sounded like. And it was just, he doesn't even understand. And I find this: is it necessary to understand basic geography if you're the president of the United States? I would have thought yes. I think that's an important thing.
If you're going to
have
bomb
a rudimentary. Well, right. At least a rudimentary understanding, Dave. To your point, if you're going to bomb it, might as well know something about them. But the thing here is that none of this is coming to a conclusion, as Trump has said. Look, we all know it was hyperbole to say, oh, I'll finish I'll end the wars in a day. I'll end them in a week. I'll end them in 2 days. Whatever he said, right? Everybody knew that was complete balderdash. I hope nobody took it seriously. I really do. If you voted for Donald Trump, I know, right? If you voted for Donald Trump because you thought he could end those wars as quickly as he said he would, then you're a moron. I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump. It's not Donald Trump that nobody could do it. Jesus couldn't do it. Okay? Nobody could end those wars in a day. It could not be done.
Well, it's funny that even Putin couldn't accomplish the war. He said.
That's right. It's going to be a weekend. Tovarich will be in Kiev drinking vodka out of Zelensky's skull by Sunday. Yes, very good. That didn't happen. Whose skull is this? The general who made false promise. Very good. Serve the vodka. No, but that's where we are. So he keeps going, and Putin will not alter his course. Mm-hmm. He can't. He cannot alter his course. That's who he is. Netanyahu.
He would lose face in Russia.
Oh, they'll be all over. Mm-hmm. Netanyahu and his ultra-conservative allies, ultra-nationalist, ultra-conservative allies in the Knesset cannot alter course. I told you before, and you should know this, but Charlie Kirk had his suspicions, more than suspicions, that the October attacks on Israel, in a best-case scenario, were allowed to proceed by the Israelis. Best-case scenario. False flag, like 9/11, like the Lusitania, like the Reichstagsbrand, all false flags. And if you say, but thousands of people were killed, it doesn't matter if thousands of people are killed. These people don't care how many people are killed in the pursuit of their goals. Mm-hmm. In the successful pursuit of their goals, nobody cares.
That's right.
And just on that, sorry, I'm jumping a bit, but Charlie Kirk, and I have to say this, I've spent a lot of time on the internet listening to all kinds of gun experts, and not just gun experts, but just general, I guess, rhetoric and experts in different fields. Mm-hmm. None of the Charlie Kirk assassination story makes a lick of sense.
That's right.
I'll give you a couple of things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to give you a couple of things that don't make any sense at all. If you think about it for a second, then you may or may not agree. So the gun. How did the gun get on the roof? The truth is, we don't know. But let's say there was a gun on the roof. There was also a screwdriver on the roof. Now, if the gun had been disassembled, there are 2 screws. I've educated myself. In this particular gun, the Mauser, there are 2 screws that you need to tighten with a screwdriver. You can't do it by hand. It has to be a screwdriver, right? In order for the gun to work. And not only that, once you disassemble it, you have to re-sight it. If you're going to scope on a gun, you sight it as it is. So you know that the gun will hit a target at a certain distance away. If you take the gun apart, right, and reassemble it, that sighting is now no longer any good. You have to re-sight it. Meaning, well, that he probably didn't re-sight it when he reassembled it. But let's say he reassembled it. That's fine. Okay, so reassembled. Then he shoots one shot, disassembles the gun, and then, even though we can't see it, somehow puts the rifle into his pants or into a backpack or whatever and jumps off the roof. He leaves the screwdriver on the roof. Runs into the forest, reassembles the gun without a screwdriver, which is not possible, leaves the gun in the bag assembled, and then runs away. So there's so many holes in the story, it's not even funny. But then other things started to become really strange as well. I don't know if you look at the text, and I don't take, even the video I'm suspicious of these days, but text messages in Discord, any kind of platform, I always have to question the veracity because I know what's possible. So these texts, if you read them, they're very lyrical. It's almost like poetry, right? And he writes, and in the text, you couldn't ask for a more prolific and specific, I guess, confession than that. You couldn't ask for a better confession than what he wrote in those text messages. You just couldn't. It's perfect. He admits to everything and how he did it, and etc., etc. It's wonderful, right? But it's not, and this is coming from experts in the world, not just from one, but many people saying, this generation, like he's 20, he was 22, right? Which puts him into, is he a millennial? Would you say a millennial, or
yes,
is he a Gen Z? Yeah. So that's not how they communicate on text. They don't write long prose. I'd like to see other text messages from the past that he has written to see if they bear any resemblance to what he wrote in those confessional messages, right? But it's prose. And nobody in that generation talks like that. Look at the words he uses. Look at how he expresses himself. It is completely incongruous. It makes no sense. But okay. Let's say that. He hasn't spoken yet. He hasn't admitted to anything yet. And a lot of people, now people that are saying, yes, this shot was easy enough to do, as well as people saying that, this shot wasn't as easy because you had to resight the scope, various reasons. But everybody says, to a person, left, right, in between, the FBI is lying and this guy is not the shooter. That's all. They're all saying that. There's no ideology that doesn't say this. It's not left, it's not right. It's just a general opinion of people that know about guns.
That's right. So
everybody, it's astounding. I've never seen that.
Yeah. So there's a weird guy in the crowd that's holding his, his right arm is on his left arm. He's making a signal, and right at that point it happens. There's also his crew take down a camera and use the CDs on to stand up and remove the camera and remove the SD card out of it and disappear. And that footage, even Candace has seen, because she actually knows the guy, which is extraordinary. She exposes it all. But I've got a post here from X, Meki. It looks like your camera's disappeared. There you go. Yeah. Then there's an image of a guy that he recently debated, who is remarkably similar to the person who was in the stairwell with the hat and the top. I've got a picture of that post. Yep. So, and it's public, right? Because it's on X. But there you go. I mean, you have to start making your own decisions here at this point. If this ever went to trial, it would have to be a kangaroo court, I suppose, right? If they wanted to push this guy through, the guy that they're currently saying is the shooter, then, and if he hasn't spoken, that's his lawyer saying, look, you've said you haven't done it, then don't say a word. There's also a picture of
Yeah.
him in the Dairy Queen across town.
Yeah, I know.
2 minutes,
But
2
you
minutes
know-
or something afterward. It couldn't possibly have gotten there in that time.
I agree. No, the one thing that makes me the most suspicious about this particular suspect. First of all, he's got 3 names. He's got 3 names, so that's
3
typical
first
Patsy
names.
kind of stuff.
Watch
But the
out.
most, that's right. But the key thing that I find to be the most incriminating is that he is the perfect assassin for Charlie Kirk. In every way. He comes from a MAGA household, for more or less, right?
Mhm.
Like a conservative household. He fell in maybe with the wrong crowd at college or whatever. He is in a relationship with a transgender that is transitioning to be a woman. He's a furry, apparently, right?
Oh.
And he can shoot. He's a hunter because his dad took him hunting and all that, so he knows how to shoot, which is like in America not unusual. But the point that could be made here is that even if you come from a traditional, salt of the earth family, which is pretty much what his family is, for all intents, like they're apple pie. They're as American as apple pie, really, right? And if that could happen to that kid, and he could become, I don't know, weaponized or radicalized or whatever, to the point where he then assassinates someone whose belief system he doesn't agree with, then it could happen to anyone. Do you understand? There's a threat out there now.
Oh, that
On
it
top of that-
broadens the threat to everybody who's in the
Yeah.
population. Yeah.
Completely.
Mhm.
And on top of that, he's a Mormon. He's a Mormon. Now, that might not mean much to
Push
a lot
it
of
down.
you, but Mormons are specifically peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
Very think of Mormons not in the same vein as Mennonites or the Amish, but sort of, kind of. Now, the Mormon religion is fascinating, and I've spent a lot of time studying John Smith and the book he was given by the angel, etc., etc. I find it fascinating. I really do. It's a fascinating story. But Mormons are very, very, very peaceful people. They don't. I think there's a special dispensation where they don't have to join the army. I think. Similar to the Mennonites and the Amish, but I could be wrong. But I know they're, generally speaking, extremely peaceful people, right? And that's part of their creed. That's what they teach. So it is a very suspicious kind of setup, and it reminds me in many ways of Martin Bryan. I'm not saying that Martin Bryan was like the shooter here or the alleged shooter, but none of the things about the person add up. None of the things make sense. And this is really my point here. So we are left with a bad taste in our mouth where America is becoming more and more disunited. So the MAGA base doesn't like attack on free speech, right? The smart ones, because they realize it could happen to them. The Republican Party is struggling because MAGA has taken over, and the Republicans that are not MAGA are leaving the Republican Party. The Democrats are in disarray. There's no alternative in America. I hope there will be one day. And everything is pointing every day more and more to civil war, right? Almost inevitably so, which would be great for Russia and China. Fantastic. I mean, the Russian and the Chinese couldn't think of a better thing to happen in America than a civil war. And to my amazement, Donald Trump is the president that could bring about such a civil war. It's astounding. I really find it amazing. I'm not saying he's done all bad things. I mean, it's impossible, right? He's done a lot of good things, in my opinion, for America. But the things he has done that are divisive are so divisive that they're almost unhealable. The things he has done or wants to do or has said he will do could push America to the edge. Right? And it's not one thing. It's not immigration. It is not freedom of speech. It is not tariffs and the economic situation for most households. It is not big tax cuts for the super rich, right? It is not nepotism. It is not, that journalists that want to cover the Pentagon have to pledge a new oath when they enter there, Have you seen that? Yeah, it's funny. It's none of this, but it's now a personality cult. It seems that Donald Trump requires you to swear fealty to him. Not officially. I'm sure, but unofficially, I'm sure that's what they have to do. They have to swear fealty to their leader, not the Constitution of the United States. I remember when he was asked this question. He was asked this question in the first couple of weeks of his term. Do you feel, or do you think you have to uphold the Constitution of the United States? Do you think you have to defend it? Do you think you have to protect it? He goes, "Oh, I'm not a lawyer." What kind of he had an oath? He swore an oath. That's it. To uphold and defend against enemies, foreign and domestic. That's the oath he took. And he goes, "I'm not a lawyer. I'm not sure." What? Squeeze me? Baking powder? What? I mean, it's astounding that he would say that, Dave.
Do I thought when Trump was being elected this second time that he would be the one that would unite America. I'm going to restate that. Reunite America in a good way. I think what's happened was it's turned out to be in a bad way. That reunification of America and trying to close itself off from the world, make itself better. I think too much change too quickly, certainly too quickly. He could have done a little bit every year for 4 years and been maybe slowly immersing people in warm water. Do you know what I mean? Not shaking the cage, and whoever's still alive at the end of it is going to be supportive of you. That's the kind of thing that I think of. And look, while you were making the point, I want to just take it back to the Mormon thing, because I've seen Book of Mormon. It's a wonderful show if you're not familiar with it. And the song, I said push it down. I'm wrong. It's turn it off like a light switch. Just go click. It's a cool little Mormon trick. It's a very, very funny song. And if you're not familiar with it, go and see it or watch it. It's on YouTube. You can watch it too. But do you see what I mean, Mackie, about how America is now being more divided? Like, is it...
Oh, yeah.
Just doing everything like a corporation doesn't make everybody at the front line happy with it. The government should never be in your pocket. And Mackie and I have said this for at least our entire lives. We've never, ever agreed. At least our entire... Yeah, at least. So the government shouldn't be in your pocket. They should be looking after the greater domestic issues, geopolitical issues, and claim the taxes minimally from what we do just so they can operate. They should operate very leanly, and none of that happens, and that doesn't happen anywhere on the planet. Because the governments themselves openly admit that they're incapable of running anything like a corporation. They just become too big, too bloated, and one person does one thing once per day, and that is their job that they get paid to do. That's it. Whether it's just turning a piece of paper, I'm exaggerating, over once and putting it into the next person's in tray, that's pretty much what they do. The swiftness of change is evident in small business, certainly the most agile businesses who have very thin, flat structures, get things done really quickly. Anything that's too bloated with too many levels they couldn't stop themselves. They couldn't even evacuate themselves from a building if there was an emergency. They need everything in triplicate before we go out, right? And this is, I think, it's where we're at, and the whole system is broken from top to bottom, and this is just an exaggeration of, using the American government to be exact, and it's an exaggeration of all of the problems that we're facing globally. And it's just being exasperated by them now.
You're 100% correct. It's if you were to run a country like a corporation, this is what you get, and this is what we've been seeing. America, in the second Trump administration, is being run like a corporation completely. Because in a corporation, it's not a democracy. In a corporation, you do as you're told, as Dave has eloquently pointed out. And you only do that should you not follow the instructions. You will soon find yourself out on your behind, literally. So that's the kind of America Donald Trump is. See, Donald Trump said this. He said in a hot mic moment, he was behind the stage talking to someone, I don't remember who, but he said admiringly, how when the North Korean leader speaks up, the population listens. Everybody is listening to everything he says. I wish I had that, he said. That's what he said. I wish I had that. Can you imagine America where all Americans, listen in rapture to the leader's dulcet tones as he espouses his wisdom on every subject under the sun? I cannot.
I love the leader.
But I love the leader many times. I said it first, dear leader. It's what look again. What Jon Stewart did to take off. I think it was in America. It was Thursday night. Mm-hmm. I saw it Friday morning here, Australia time. It's if you haven't seen it, Dave, it is funny. It is really, really funny and so well done. It made me laugh. It really did, like belly laugh. But this is a really dangerous situation. You look at this. If the effects of Donald Trump's administration were only limited to what happens in America, trust me, Dave and I wouldn't really be talking about it as much as we do. Mm-hmm. As funny as it is. But our leader, our press was threatened. Our Four Corners ABC journalist was threatened by Donald Trump to not ask questions like he's setting a bad tone, asking Donald Trump about his business dealings. And he's soon, Albanese will come. Or actually, he said your leader's going to come and see me soon.
That's
right. I'm going to tell him about you.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, what?
Well, there's only 5 of us that live here, Mackie, so we all know each other.
That's right. And you better bring my chicken back. So it's no, but I mean, I as a politician, and Donald Trump is not. See, this is the key thing here to understand. Donald Trump is not a politician, so he hasn't had a lifetime of growing a thick skin to all kinds of abuse while still kissing babies and shaking hands.
That's right.
All career politicians have mastered that art. Mm-hmm. He has not. He cannot stand criticism. And he gets a lot of personal criticism, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's been leading corporations. He was the boss for most of his life, right? Mm-hmm. He was the boss, and everybody just, kowtowed and told him how great he is, and he had the TV show, and you're fired, even though you're great, and you're fired. Mm-hmm. That just elevated in his mind his status, right? And he has got this overinflated sense of ego in many ways, and he lies as a matter of. I don't think he can tell the truth if he wanted to. When he told the story about his uncle, there was no reason to lie about it, to embellish it, none. But everything he said, with the exception that his uncle did teach at MIT at some point, was a lie in that story. The story was told at some inconsequential dinner or whatever, and it didn't further any aims. Like there was no agenda behind this particular lie or set of lies. It didn't do anything for anyone, right? And still, he went all in, man.
So what kind of person lies when there's no gain? A habitual liar, Mackie.
Correct.
What about? Do you remember the running mate of what's her name? I forget her name now. Going against
Kamala
Trump.
Harris.
Yeah, Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Yeah, remember the running mate she had? That man Mills or something, whatever his name was. He lied about being at Tiananmen Square. He said, "I was there." When were you there? And it turned out he was there on holidays like a decade later or something. Like he'd been there.
So technically not a lie.
but he wasn't there. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't there.
I hear you, but but I was there.
Yeah,
I was in the vicinity. Later, a little bit later.
There was no tanks and people weren't getting slain. But that's all right. It doesn't matter, right? So, some of the story was true. My favorite lies came from Joe Biden, who I don't know if he knew what year it was currently, but, or even the day. He'd know the day because the tablets you know, they're all pre-packed and would have Monday there at least if that was the most recent reference to today's, you know, what was today. But his recollection of his time in service was his brother, his son, all these things that occurred in his life were all wrong. Doesn't matter when he said them. And it was sad. It was so sad to watch that having to be put to air. Because, you know, people can have good days and bad days, man, but he was really he was melting on the inside.
His cognitive abilities were very much on the decline. I mean, if you look at him as vice president under Obama, when Obama was president.
Solid.
But then you look at him, well, we're talking what? 8 years later, something like that? Less than that, maybe even. Actually, less, 4 or 5 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And the decline was so severe that it's not even the same man anymore. And we're seeing that now with Donald Trump, where he just, first of all, either he doesn't hear the question, he doesn't understand the context of the question, or he doesn't know the answer, so he just rambles on like any old man would do, right? Or old woman for that matter. And this is what we're seeing now in him, because he's getting to 80, just as Biden did. Now, should there be an age limit to people that hold office?
Definitely.
Or an office of that? I mean, the thing is this: when you hit a certain age, you're no longer allowed to drive unless you do an annual driver's license test.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
To be clear, and the age is, I think, 65 or 70 or something like that in Australia. Mm-hmm. There are certain other things you're not allowed to do when you hit a certain age. Okay, for various reasons, because, you know, your faculties decline. It's just what happens.
For the driving part, there's even a point at which you're not allowed to drive more than a greater distance when you get even older than that, because you just lose your mental faculties. You've only got a battery, like a driving battery in your head for concentration, of only a certain amount of time.
And that's the truth. I mean, it's something that most of us will suffer at some point, and it's unfortunate. And again, this is something we're going to discuss in the second hour. But ultimately, you have to ask yourself, if that's all true, then why isn't a similar restriction around leadership or significant leadership positions for companies, countries, doesn't really matter, that restrict people that have reached, 80s or 90s? I mean, and it becomes really hard to understand, because if you're 80 years old or 90 years old, you've lived your life, you might even be sick. And there's speculation that Putin might be very sick. There's speculation that Donald Trump is sick. But let's say Putin is very sick, for argument's sake. He's really sick, or he's got cancer, whatever. And then the war in the Ukraine is not going well, and maybe he starts something in Estonia or Poland, and NATO fights back. It's not looking well for him. And he's sick. And he's getting older as well. He's not as old yet, but he's getting older. He's sick. Do you think he would hesitate in deploying nuclear weapons?
No, not at all.
Because we already know that he doesn't care about his people. He sent 1 million plus of his own people to die. 1 million plus. Yeah, so what? Do you think he would really hesitate and not press the button? I don't think so. No, and at that point, it really matters who is around him. That really matters at that point. Who is around anyone, be it Putin or Jin or Kim or Trump? Who is around those people at that crucial moment in time when the chips are down and the decision is made that will alter the course of the planet forever?
Yeah.
Right? That's a really scary thought. You must have... See, there should be a designated position for someone. Like, there should be like a cool head position that would make the right decision, act in the right way to preserve as much human life as possible when it comes to situations like that, I think.
I know that they've already prepared for it with the seed bank, Mackie. Used to be giant Georgia Guidestones, they got rid of those. And now there's a depopulation agenda, so they don't really care who's left. We could always get back to the minimum population, or the maximum population that is discovered. Hey, we've only got like 8 seconds or something before the music's going to start, so... It's been a great first hour with Davey Mackey's Shiny Side Out. I'll tell you that much.
Great.
And we'll be back.
The truth.
It is the truth. And guess what we're going to do when we come back? We're going to be talking about The Hypothesis is part 7 in the series. So stay tuned, and we'll be back with you shortly. Do like, share, subscribe, and comment. Helps with the algorithm. And we're going to maybe take this as a toilet break. You know what it's like. All right, we'll see you after the short break.